What is good, everybody? I'm Mac, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is down in the box below. So the other night, I was watching the divisional round between the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions, as I saw Washington pull off that incredible upset over Detroit. Although I can't really call it an upset, in my opinion, because if you saw my picks video, I said that Detroit would be on upset watch for that game. I said Washington would cover in that game. I said Washington would give Detroit a way better game than the spread says and than what most people think. Not just because Detroit had so many players on IR on defense like that, but because of the way Washington's offense was structured. And sure enough, they went into Detroit, beat the Lions by 2 touchdowns, 5 turnovers on Detroit's offense, the highest scoring offense in the league. Okay? And keep in mind, Washington doesn't really have that great of a defense. They picked off Jared Goff 3 times, including the game sealer, and 2 other turnovers by Detroit, an interception on a horrible trick play gone wrong, and I believe a lost fumble. 5 turnovers. And Washington won 45-31. And for the first time in 33 years, they're on their way to the NFC Championship game. Where, by the way, Washington won the Super Bowl over the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills are on their way to the AFC Championship game. And I would say around the second quarter, after that pick 6 that Washington got, I would say around then, I began thinking to myself, could you imagine how good the Pittsburgh Steelers would be if we had structured our franchise and we structured our team the way that either one of these teams have done over the past couple of seasons? I began thinking that to myself. It's crazy that I'm sitting down here and I'm saying, wow, we need to be like Washington, a franchise that had been in shambles for 25 years under Dan Snyder's ownership. And now, you see, this is what a change in culture and what a change in ownership can do for a franchise. If that's not blatant proof, I don't know what is. Because, firstly, like I said, take a look at Washington. One of the worst teams in the league went under Dan Snyder's ownership. And what happens? I mean, sure, they made a couple of playoff appearances under him, and they even won a playoff game under him. But other than that, Washington was just downright horrendous in Dan Snyder's ownership. But take a look at what happened. 2023, Snyder sells the team. They get a new owner. And sure, Washington may have had a bad year in 2023, but you know what? This is why I say that that as a Steeler fan, I'd rather sit down here and have a losing season and be one of the worst teams in the league than be mediocre and constantly get embarrassed in the first round of the playoffs. Because you know what? At least when you're bad and when at least you have one of those bottom feeder records, guess what? You get a top pick and you can get potentially a franchise type quarterback, or you can get at the very least a starter quality quarterback. Look at what Washington did. They threw out 2023. They said, we're going to start all over again in 2023. Guess what? They got the second overall pick in 2024. They took this kid, Jaden Daniels, who has won 2 road playoff games in his rookie season. 2 road playoff wins in his rookie season. He's most likely going to win offensive player. He's most likely going to win offensive rookie of the year. Okay? At some points this season, people were even giving him MVP consideration. I don't think he's getting MVP, okay? That's probably going to go to Lamar Jackson, all right? But the fact that he was in the MVP talks for a little bit this season is pretty incredible for a rookie quarterback. Washington goes 12-5. They get a new head coach in Dan Quinn. And this is how you reset your franchise. Does Washington have a great defense? No. But here's the thing. The way that Dan Quinn can shift up defensive schemes and the way that he can plan around his young quarterback like that, it's very telling on how Washington has really grown as a franchise since getting a new owner. That dark cloud that they had with Dan Snyder, gone. Those days are long over with. They don't have to think about that anymore. Washington may not have an explosive run game either, but guess what? They have an opportunistic run game, and they have a run game that's able to chew up yards, chew up time on the clock, and continue up a drive. And sure enough, they go 12-5, fifth seed in the AFC. They take out the Tampa Bay Bucks in the wild card for their first win, or their first playoff win in 19 years. And now they're on their way to the NFC Championship game because they went to Detroit and they shocked the NFL world by taking out the number one seed in the NFC. In my opinion, the best team in the regular season this year in Detroit. You want to talk about a culture change? Look at that right there. Let's take a look at their opponent in Detroit, okay? With that being said, unbelievable year for the Lions, 15-2, most wins in franchise history. As I just said, in my opinion, they were the best team in the NFL all season, but that's kind of a moot point now because they obviously lost the divisional, okay? But 15-2. Couple years ago, they were one of the worst teams in the league. It was Dan Campbell's first season in 2021, 3-13-1. He had a very young roster with almost nothing to work with. And this was after they made that big trade with the Los Angeles Rams. And guess what? The Rams went on to win the Super Bowl the very same season that Detroit went 3-13-1 with Matthew Stafford as their quarterback. Everyone's saying, oh, LA absolutely fleeced Detroit on that trade. They're going to go absolutely nowhere. Well, guess what? 3-13-1, bottom feeder record in the league. Lions hit up on the draft picks that they got in the Stafford trade. They go 9-8 the next season. They narrowly missed out on the playoffs, but guess what? They had hope for the future, and they easily built up on that 9-8 season in 2022. They won 12 games the next season, captured their first division title in, I believe, 30 years, if I'm not mistaken, won their first playoff game in 32 years, made it all the way to the NFC Championship, and they had a choke job against the 49ers, yes. But the fact that Detroit went from a laughingstock, a perennial loser, a team that absolutely nobody feared, to now looking like the best team in the NFL and a Super Bowl favorite going forward, even if they had that tough loss in the divisional, you know how it all started? Because their owner, okay, Sheila Ford, okay, Sheila Ford is a smart businesswoman. She knows what she's doing. She has a win now mentality. She craves success. She craves victories. She wants to bring a Lombardi to Detroit. Hired Dan Campbell in 2021. What did Dan Campbell say in his introductory press conference? I have that posted on the screen right here. Now, tell me, does that not summarize the Detroit Lions in a nutshell to you right there? Because if you saw Dan Campbell's end of season press conference, all right? He was visibly emotional. He was visibly upset. He was proud of his team, though. You could tell that's a man that cares about winning and cares about being successful with his team. All right? Not that I think the Lions are going to be down for long, because I have no doubt they're going to get right. They're going to get right back up, and they're going to come out swinging again. But that's just what I'm talking about. A culture change, energizing your players, getting them hyped up for a big game. Okay? They don't just go through the motions. They don't just they don't just twiddle their thumbs and go through the bare minimum and go like, "Yeah, 9-win season. We made the playoffs. We don't got to do much. Yeah, 10 wins. We don't got to do much. Oh, Jared Goff, he threw 37 touchdowns. Oh, that's good enough. Oh, Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year, 12-win season for us. Yeah, we don't got to do much." Do you think Washington and Detroit go in with that went in with that mindset this season? No. Okay? Because no matter what happened, okay, no regardless of what happens with Washington in the NFC Championship against Philly next weekend, regardless of what happens, this was a phenomenal season for Washington, okay? But at some point, the honeymoon phase has to end. All right? Because now Washington is going to come into 2025 with expectations. That's what I'm talking about. The Pittsburgh Steelers need to structure their franchise in a way that Washington and Detroit have done over the past couple of seasons. All right? Hell, I'll even throw Philadelphia in the mix. The other team that's competing for the NFC Championship. They're looking to go to their second Super Bowl in 3 seasons. Look at Philadelphia. Back in 2020, they realized, hey, that, and this is why Howie Roseman is such a smart GM. And for the life of me, I don't know why Eagle fans hate this guy. I don't. But look at what Philadelphia did. In 2020, Howie Roseman realized, you know what, Carson Wentz isn't the guy. He's too injury prone. We're not going to take a gamble on his injuries. We're not going to take a gamble on him being the starter. He doesn't do well in the playoffs for us. We're going to throw away 2020, and then we're going to draft a quarterback. I'm sorry, they took Jalen Hurts in 2020, but we're going to throw away 2020, and we're going to see what we have in Jalen Hurts in 2021. Guess what? Jalen Hurts was the full-time starter in 2021, and the Eagles overachieved that season, and they made the playoffs. What did the Eagles do after that? Well, they had Nick Sirianni as their head coach in 2021. Yeah, new quarterback, new starting quarterback, new head coach. They overachieved, went 9-8, made the playoffs. All right. What'd they do the next season? Made these big trades, brought in A.J. Brown, drafted well, got some free agents, fixed up the defense, fixed up the offensive line. Before you know it, Philly wins 14 games in 2022. They make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Defense was one stop away from bringing a Lombardi to Philly for the first time in 5 years. They had a down year in 2023. Yes, they had a bad slump to close out 2023, but Philly got right back up the next season. Number 2 seed in the NFC. Guess what? They're playing to go back to the Super Bowl. Those 3 teams, Washington, Detroit, and Philly, those are the ways that you build up a culture, you build up a winning culture, and how you reset a franchise. Those 3 teams right there. You know what all 3 of them had in common? All 3 of them played this past weekend. All 3 of them were looking to go to the Super Bowl. and 2 of them are playing to go to the Super Bowl. Where are we? We're going to bring back Mike Tomlin. We're going to bring back Terrell Austin. We're going to bring back Arthur Smith. We're going to bring back our offensive line coach, even though 2 of our guys were 1 and 2 in sacks allowed this season. We're probably going to bring back Russell Wilson. We're probably, we brought in Skylar Thompson. That's good enough. We won 9 games. We don't got to do much. We don't got to change a damn thing. If that's what you want, by all means, go ahead. I'm sick of it. You want to build up a winning culture? Take a look at those 3 franchises right there. And that's all I got to say for this video. Let me know what you think down below. Mac, checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.